Animation fans have been waiting excitedly for The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and despite some pandemic-related release date snags, it can now finally be watched on Netflix. Not only is the film a wild and wacky romp through the robot apocalypse as seen through the eyes of an overenthusiastic film nerd, it's also packed with detail, as if the animators were having a contest to see who could sneak the most stuff into the film. And so, it's time to utterly abuse that poor pause button and scrub the film of fun little details. Oh, Mike Rianda, your opening scene would make Katie proud. Fittingly, for a movie about a massive film geek, we only make it a few seconds into the opening narration before we get a cinematic parallel with a robot crushing a smartphone under its heel to show us that the world is suffering a robot uprising. Much like how another really obscure movie you've probably never heard of also begins with a skull getting crushed by an advancing killing machine. Flip the angle all you want, Rianda, I see through your tricks. Okay, so the robots in the movie, except for these two lovable goobers, are largely villains, but it's hard to deny that their sleek white design is pretty fine looking. Well, it's not so strange. They did borrow it from the famously real-life Aasimov robot created by Honda way back in the year 2000, which was one of the biggest advancements in the field of humanoid robot development. Fittingly, its name also pays tribute to sci-fi writer Isaac Asimov, who came up with the famous 3 laws of robotics, which state that a robot's top priority is to never harm a human being. Seems like PAL didn't quite get the memo, though. Speaking of the robots, here's one of the Cypher nerds. Despite what Rick thinks, the PAL robots do not communicate through cartoonish bleep and blorp noises. Take an extra look anytime you see the robots typing or any machine text appears in the film, and sure enough, there's a written robot language to go with it. According to Mike Rianda himself, this can actually be decoded and translated to various little messages if you take the time to sit down and decode it. Better get cracking. Okay, so Katie's passion for film is plastered all over, from stacks of DVDs to movie posters and video thumbnails, but did you realize it goes all the way down to her very design? We're not just talking about how her glasses are vaguely TV-shaped and give her square eyes either. If you take a close look, you'll notice that even her socks are patterned after the famous carpet seen in Stanley Kubrick's horror classic The Shining from 1980. Do you think she also stays in room 237 anytime she's at a hotel? Personally, I wouldn't. Too many bathtub ghosts. The movie references in Katie's apparel seem to go from head to toe. No, literally, it doesn't stop at her socks. Move up to head level and you'll see that she has another pin aside from the pride pin that got tons of fans excited back when the first few trailers dropped. The other pin is shaped like a nuclear bomb and even has a little message on it reading "Hi there." Exactly like the bomb that gets dropped and awesomely ridden on in the most famous scene from Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb from 1964. But let's put a pin in the bomb thing for now. I cracked myself up. And take a look at yet another pin that Katie owns, this time attached to her backpack. If you take a closer look, you can see that it says Lawn Wranglers, which references an Owen Wilson quote from 1996's Bottle Rocket, the first feature film by famed director Wes Anderson.
What was the name of your little lawn mowing company?
The Lawn Wranglers?
Honestly, looking over the movie one more time, I can't say I'm too surprised that she's a Wes Anderson fan. But seriously, Katie, where do you buy your pins? I really want some. For all the real-life movies that get mentioned, referenced, or parodied, there's one blatantly fake one that gets name-dropped a few times that is apparently a big favorite of Katie's as well as her future classmates. But then, who can resist a title like Roboslayers 4: The Brain Exploders? Especially once you notice the foreshadowing. 'Cause what's this movie about again? Why, it's our family of 4 that slay robots by exploding their brains with a little help from their questionably shaped dog. Ooh, you guys, I see what you did there. Speaking of Katie's classmates, any movie nerd can relate to wanting to hang out with like-minded peers, and Katie is especially excited to finally be able to meet Jade, her future girlfriend. And just in case you forgot that the college Katie is attending is a film college and all of her classmates are film geeks just like her, the film is eager to remind you with Jade's online handle, Jade Runner 2049, referencing Blade Runner 2049, the 2017 sequel to the sci-fi classic Blade Runner. I'm just gonna acknowledge that with a movie quote of my own.
Clever girl.
The film's antagonist, Pal, is pretty aptly named for what started out as a friendly, digital personal assistant before she got all, evil and stuff. But her name also sounds almost exactly like one of the OGs of evil AIs in Hollywood, namely HAL 9000 from Stanley Kubrick's famous 2001 A Space Odyssey. Oh, and what's the name of her creator again? Mark Bowman? Yep, checks out. Between this, Katie's socks, and her Dr. Strangelove pin, I'm starting to suspect that there might be a Stanley Kubrick fan hiding somewhere among the crew. Just a slight hunch I have. May bear further investigation. The verdict may still be out on whether or not Monchi is a dog, a pig, or a loaf of bread, but one thing is for certain. The bizarre little pupper is definitely voiced by a real-life dog. A celebrity dog at that. Monchi's dog noises are provided by none other than viral sensation Doug the Pug, who is so popular online that he has amassed 13 million followers across platforms, appearing with various celebrities and even won a People's Choice Award in 2019. That's a pretty darn good boy right there. In Katie's personal application for her college of choice, we briefly see her posing in front of a so-called Mount Rushmore of directing heroes. Fitting for a film nerd like Katie, they're all real directors, namely Greta Gerwig, Celine Sciamma, Lynn Ramsey, and Hal Ashby. And if you're a little familiar with their work, you'll also notice that some of their film titles and premises fit Katie pretty well as a character. Titles like Gerwig's Little Women and Sciamma's Tomboy speak to her personality and growth into adulthood. Ramsey's We Need to Talk About Kevin is about a very, very troubled parent-child relationship. And as for Hal Ashby, look, Harold and Maude is just a damn good movie, alright? They always say you shouldn't compare yourself with others, but it can be difficult not to look at other people with massive online followings and feel a bit jealous like Linda does. So, of course, the crew decided to have a little fun casting the family's neighbors, the seemingly perfect Poseys. The couple are voiced by none other than singer-songwriter and actor John Legend and his real-life wife, the model and TV personality Chrissy Teigen. And just like in the film, the couple are also known for having quite the online presence. Katie's room has lots of cool movie posters to look at, and while some appear to be entirely fictional, it's possible to spot that our girl apparently has a soft spot for real-world, old-school horror and sci-fi, with posters of films like The Creature from the Atom Brain and It Came from Beneath the Sea adorning her walls. She even has one for the obscure Spanish film Isle of the Snake People from 1971, starring none other than Boris Karloff, best known for playing the original Frankenstein monster on film. Ah, Rick, ever the outdoorsy handyman. Of course, an old-school guy like him isn't gonna be riding around in some big, fancy, modern car. No, Rick prefers a proper, sturdy, and sensible car. No, really, it's literally a sturdy and sensible brand car. Now, far be it from me to claim I know a damn about cars, but I am at least 80% sure that these aren't real brands, and the filmmakers are just playing a little joke on good old Rick here. Just a hunch. You know how Katie describes her family as the worst family ever early in the film? Well, sure, that's how any college-ready kid probably feels, but the Mitchells might have a stronger claim to that than most. If you pause while Pal lists their many flaws, you can see that the entire family got kicked out of Olive Garden because someone, presumably Linda, was stealing breadsticks. And if her emails are anything to go by, she also somehow got herself banned from Best Buy. What on earth does this woman get up to when she goes shopping? Okay, so Aaron was less than enthused with the frankly trashy dinosaur exhibit, but it's still worth pausing the scene once the family starts hanging around the gift shop. Take a look at the rack of personalized license plates, and you'll see the names Mike and Jeff close together. Probably not a total coincidence, considering that the film was written and directed by Mike Rianda and his collaborator Jeff Rowe. I better be seeing those license plates on their actual cars next time I swing by their houses. Not that I know where they live, or what their cars look like. I'm not that obsessed with this movie. Moving on. Of the many movies Katie has made, we sadly only get to actually watch a few. There's of course the documentary she makes on the road, and her clearly Oscar-worthy Good Cop, Dog Cop series, which I am already clamoring for a Blu-ray box set of, but one that demands special attention is Dial B for Burger. Not only is it a clear reference to the Alfred Hitchcock film Dial M for Murder from 1954, but it's also a full-fledged trilogy. Take a look at Katie's video thumbnails and you'll spot Dial B for Burger 2, Diagnosis, alongside Dial B for Burger 3, Forgiveness, giving the burger and its dog attacker a no doubt very emotional story arc. Ah, screw it, this one's going in the Blu-ray wishlist too. My Katie Mitchell collection must be completed! You know what, while we're looking at the Dial B for Burger trilogy, let's take a look at some of Katie's other video thumbnails, because quite frankly, they're an absolute riot, and most of them reference other famous movies. These include shoutouts to stuff like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Thelma and Louise, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and even foreign dramas such as Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Fear Eats the Soul. And of course, she just couldn't resist doing a parody of John Carpenter's They Live, nor lifting an iconic line from it. Because really, who can?
I'm here to bust criminals and lick my own butt. And I'm all out of criminals.
I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of guy who immediately goes through people's movie collections whenever I visit them for the first time, so of course, I had to pause and check out Katie's stack of homemade DVDs. And sure enough, the tradition from her YouTube channel is continued with a veritable onslaught of film references. You can spot riffs on the Spanish film Y tu mama tambien, though the mama has fittingly enough been replaced with papa, Fists of Fury, which sounds awfully similar to Bruce Lee's classic Fists of Fury, Space Butts, which may somehow be even sillier than Spaceballs, and even Pugs in Space, to the delight of any Muppet fan out there. Oh wow, I was kinda joking when I said I wanted to complete my Katie collection, but lo and behold, she's already done the work for me. Like any amateur filmmaker, Katie of course has a lot of fun making physical copies of her movies, and again, if you pause when you see her stack of DVDs, you can see that she's labeled her works as part of the Katie collection with a simple K logo. This directly references the famous Criterion Collection, a film distribution company that specializes in creating high-quality releases of important classics and contemporary films. Someone is aiming high with her art. Not all of the family's flaws that Pal brings up are of a humorous, anecdotal nature. There are actually some sort of surprising and kind of sad character details to be found within. Once again, if you pause at just the right moment, you can see a text box that states that the reason Katie primarily makes these humorous little parody films is because she's actually afraid of failing as doing serious drama. Oh, Katie, don't say that. If that one dog cop scene we see is any indication, you'll do just fine. Of course, the Mitchells vs. the Machines crew's attention to detail just had to rub off on Katie. The Good Cop Dog Cop series is already funny enough as it is, but if you pay attention when Mark and Rick are watching one of them in their little pal cells, you'll see that the police station is absolutely packed with missing and wanted posters for various dog-related items. There's a missing poster for a tennis ball, a wanted poster of a squirrel, and even pictures of stuff like slippers and fire hydrants to be found all over the place. During Rick's frantic and hilarious attempt at using YubTub, as he calls it, we get some brief glimpses of a barrage of YouTube videos. For the most part, they're pastiches of nonsensical memes, but the J-pop song that Rick accidentally plays is actually real. That's Dreamy Wonder by Tempura Kidz, a band signed with Sony Music Japan, which probably explains their inclusion in the movie. You can quite easily look it up yourself, even if you somehow accidentally set your device language to Spanish. The movie's focus lies mainly with Katie and her relationship with her father, but Katie's dinosaur-obsessed little brother Aaron deserves some attention too. When Pal at one point mocks the family by looking up their online history, we get a brief glimpse of the little guy's search history, which is, unsurprisingly, largely dinosaur-focused. But it also includes an awful lot of questions about the neighbor girl Abby we see him crushing on. Cute as it is to see Aaron type stuff like, "Does Abby Posey have a boyfriend?" into Google, just make sure to not do that, okay guys? It gets kinda creepy after a certain age. And now for a cartoon deep cut. Amidst all of Katie's movies, most of which reference existing movies, one particular title sticks out: Crowbar Jones. At first glance, it's just a random over-the-top action movie title, but it just might sound familiar to fans of the Cartoon Network series We Bare Bears. That's because Crowbar Jones is the title of a trilogy of amateur films made by Grizzly in the series, all about the badass Crowbar Jones and his sidekick Pando fighting stuff like snakes and ninjas, and robot snakes and ninjas, which are totally different. Perhaps this has some kind of relation to Abby Posey's voice actor, Charlene Yee, also being known for voicing Chloe Park on that same show? Nah, probably just a total random coincidence. As hard as we tried to catch everything, chances are that these aren't even half the cool things that you can spot if you go through the movie frame by frame. The Mitchells vs. the Machines is every bit as detailed as it is just plain fun to watch and rewatch. Which, if you'll excuse me, I think I'm gonna go do for like the 12th time or so. What? No, shut up, you have a problem!